I don't want to get her involved in this. I want to ruin her life. Like it's something like this. I don't want her involved in this. Okay.
It made contact and shattered.
At some point, Chris locates what's called a dry bag.
Brian Laundrie's body has been found. Law enforcement had considered Laundrie the only person of interest in the murder of his fiancée, Gabby Petito.
That's all it is the truth. So there's nothing to hide in that coroner's report. There's nothing to hide by not having Callie take a polygraph. And if the truth comes out, and this was
reference to a missing 4-year-old, the parents have called in and advised that the mother had went for a walk, came home, now they can't find her. They've been yelling for her. She's been gone for about 10 minutes now.
Hello?
It's gone.
Hey everyone, thank you for being here for another ATS News live stream. I appreciate everybody for joining. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. Let me say hi to chat. Hi BLN, Kelly, searches equals answers, Crazy Crime Chick, it's good to see you. Ashley Oaks, EE Caroline, thank you guys so much for being here. Roxana, thanks for being here. And everyone else who is watching on replay, I really appreciate you guys as well. Okay, so I went away for the weekend for a wedding, but I've been getting caught up. It was only 2 days that I missed, but I'm already feeling like a little overwhelmed with things that came out this weekend. Just some interesting stuff. So I figured we would just get right into it and start talking about the Dylan Rounds case, which everyone seems in chat I know is following. So I don't know if there's anyone in chat who isn't following this, but I just have this little clip to kind of get you caught up and then also share some of my thoughts on some of the latest events that have taken place. So let me play this pre-recorded clip and then we'll get into a bunch of notes and stuff that I have to talk to you guys about live. So let me play this pre-recording. I'll be right back. Dylan Rounds was last seen at the Saddle Sore Bar in Montello, Nevada on May 26, 2022. On May 28th, he spoke with his grandmother over the phone, but that was the last time anybody had heard from him. By May 30th, Dylan was reported missing. He is 19 years old, around 5'11", and he weighs roughly 160 pounds. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Dylan Rounds, you are urged to call 435-734-3800. The following information are my notes on information coming out on various live streams who are following the case. All those sources will be linked in the description box below. Dylan spent some time living with Jim Brenner while they both worked off-site at a location together. I'm hearing that he spent around 30 to 60 days with him. Kurt is claiming that he had never seen Dylan with two phones, but that he was always on his phone. Dylan saw Kurt on the same day that he gave Chase the ride, which was a Wednesday. Apparently, Kurt is also claiming that on Tuesday is the day that Dylan received the check for $30,000. Whether you like Jim Terry or not, for me, he has helped me paint a bigger picture of why Dylan may have needed to get away from home and start his own life out there. He has also spoken with Kurt's niece, Kurt's daughter, his son, and Kurt himself. Jim Terry uncovered the information from Kurt's niece that claims that Kurt made advances on her brother, his nephew, and her brother eventually hung himself in prison. She is also the niece that dated Dylan Berg, Ellen Berg's son, who was the one that came out with the claims of seeing Kurt wearing lipstick. Is Chase the fall guy? Ty claims Kurt has enough motive to frame Chase, but Kurt claims Ty is protecting Chase and Robert Aviles. A former boss of Jim Brenner spoke on No Thanks Investigates, and pretty much said that he fired Jim because Jim stole money out of his center council. He says that Jim Brenner was a functioning alcoholic. Jim Brenner worked for this gentleman in the 90s to mid 90s. He claims Jim would have cigarettes for lunch. You could smell the alcohol coming off of his body. He has a temper, and he knew him to be trigger happy, specifically towards shooting snakes. He described him as very, very short, like around 5'3", and ultimately believes that Jim Brenner is capable of the murder of Dylan Rounds. Tom Hardy is a local who knows Ty. Kurt says Tom Hardy was in the bar and Kurt was listening to Dylan boast about his money to a woman named Ann. Did Ann pass this information on to law enforcement? It was also revealed by Kurt that Dylan was looking to buy the property. I just want to pause it real quick because it sounded like he had said Ann, but then I'm hearing people say that it was Dan. But then I want to also remind everybody that on Tyler Feller's channel and also on Doug's channel, No Thanks Investigates, somebody came on there who knew Chase, who was saying that, he stole things from them in the time they knew him, and that there was another girl named Annie. So I don't know who exactly Kurt was saying, but I just wanted to, I hope whatever that situation is, whoever it was, talk to law enforcement about hearing Dylan kind of talk about his money. And hello, No Thanks Investigates and CDT and everyone else that joined. Hello, Rochelle. Thanks for being here, guys. That the grain shed was on. Was this going to cause problems with other people? So Dylan was looking to possibly buy the property that the grain shed was on. Apparently, before he even bought his land, he actually looked to buy that one, but the well hookup and all that, he ended up buying the other area first. So it makes me wonder, with Jim being placed out there as security and just living there in general, if Dylan was going to come in and change things up, like as far as, maybe Jim didn't feel like he'd be allowed to live there, or maybe Jim felt like now his job as being security out there was going to be changed, or they wouldn't need him anymore. Who knows? But I'm finding it all interesting that, if Dylan was going to buy that property, that would directly complicate Jim's life, possibly, like maybe he just didn't want to deal with Dylan. Maybe he had issues from resentment against Dylan with the whole, Jim knew how to drive the seed truck. He worked with Dylan on some potato deliveries, and apparently Jim went the lazy route and didn't do everything he was supposed to do, but still expected to be paid in full, the agreement that Dylan and him had together. So Dylan didn't pay him that full amount because the work wasn't fully done. So it's beginning to wonder in my mind what kind of resentment Jim possibly had against Dylan, and possibly, the money issue and his wallet being missing is a red flag. We've kind of all been tripped up a little bit about the key fob and the gun. And while those are very important items, I think it's important to also know that everyone knows about this check allegedly, because it's being talked about, and, everyone knows everything around here, it seems. So just the fact that his wallet is missing, it makes me think, was he taken and kind of like told, take this money out of your bank, or give us this money, whatever means possible? It's all questionable. And maybe that's why they took his shoes off. Maybe he was held for a little bit until they got something that they wanted, and that it didn't go that way. I'm not sure really, but those are just my thoughts real quick while I'm playing this. No Thanks Investigate says, I have Venstra's ex-girlfriend that had his baby on tonight. Oh my gosh, what time? I definitely want to hear from her. I feel so sorry for her. It sounds like she just got caught up in some bad situation. And actually in this, I have a clip, and I don't know if you guys have seen it going around. I found it on bed crime stories, but I've changed it a little bit. So it's Chase prior to his meth use, and he's playing guitar, and it's just really crazy. 7 p.m. So on your West Coast time, I'm assuming. So it's 7 here, East Coast. I'm not good at the math. Hi, Roxanne. And hi, Delana. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing that. Yes, Mia Mori Michelle. The two conjoining tracks possibly took him that way. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going around too with, I'm sure you guys have heard about the four-wheeler and how she'd spoke on Tyler's channel and on Doug's channel about, Chase stealing it, how possibly this is all hearsay. Robert Aviles took Chase out there and Chase hopped on the four-wheeler, and everyone's just wondering, did Chase take that shortcut through the desert to get to Little Caesars in time to be caught on CCTV footage? It's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. And at first, I think I was foolish to kind of think, well, honestly, and I know CDT can vouch for me, I was very suspicious of Chase. But then when Candice came out saying that he was cleared, and then she was like, oh, off of our list. I mean, that was very early on in things, and before I realized how detached the family seemed to be from Dylan, sadly. I kind of didn't think Chase was much to really look at. Like, I knew he was a meth user and just a scumbag, but I was just not, I underestimated his violence and everything that ended up coming out about him. So I definitely think when Candice says one of these two people in jail right now need to talk, I definitely, because I didn't know where Robert Aviles lied as far as his level of, being a suspect or whatever. And now I'm also thinking Don has made a deal. What do you guys think?
It was cleared up that the voicemail at 4 p.m. that Kurt spoke about was actually on Friday and not on Saturday. So, according to Kurt, he's saying that Dylan called John Shelton, the landowner of the grain shed property, at 4 p.m. on Friday, not Saturday. The mother of Dylan Rounds, Candice Cooley, recently did an interview last week. The things that I pulled from the interview were as follows. She claims that, quote, there is stuff going on. There's stuff behind the scenes that can't be released to the public right now. Candice explains why they don't want people out there searching and says that the FBI has advised that people stay away from areas like the crime scene. She says the crime scenes need to be preserved for investigative purposes because it was mishandled from the very start. She also goes on to say that she never heard Dylan say Chase's name ever before this happened. She says that the rest of the seed needed to go into the ground and he was working on getting that task taken care of.
So that was just something that I had picked up, and I know that everyone kind of has already known that he did end up getting some seed planted. I just think it's interesting that, the timeline, something it must have occurred almost immediately after he gets off the phone with his grandmother, in my mind, because everyone's kind of throwing out the idea that it might not have even been Dylan who put the grain truck underneath the covering. So if the heavy rain was heavy enough to get the grain truck kind of stuck in the mud, that wasn't until later in the afternoon. So this phone call takes place, if he didn't make it to the grain truck to move it under there until after all that heavy rain, something must have interfered immediately. So it's like, who gave Dylan the ride, or who was out there just waiting to kind of, I don't know, intercept Dylan? Or it seems very much like a planned thing in my mind, even though it very well could be a situation where Jim Brenner was pissed off and lost his temper. It's just feeling more like a conspiracy to me. And the fact that they have two people in jail right now, and the mother's saying hopefully one of them talk, it obviously means that it's more than just one situation. So I don't know. It's just very interesting. And my feelings on Kurt have just been all over the place. I don't know what he knows, but I just can't help but feel like he knows more. But at the same time, I'm feeling like maybe he's not as bad as we're thinking. But at the same time, I can't let go of certain things that he says. At one point, I think this was the interview with Salty. He's quoted as saying, "Never would I have dreamed Jim would clip Dylan over a fence." And it's like, first off, we don't even know if this was some sort of gun situation, and again, Kurt could excuse this whole thing, and maybe I'm misreading what he's saying, but like he could say that he was just theorizing, but it's just every time he says little things, I'm like, he sounds so sure. He sounds so much like he knows what is saying. And he's a missing person at this point. His body hasn't been found. There hasn't been clips that I know of that have been found, but it's just so interesting how from day one, Kurt has kind of insinuated that guns are involved. I mean, and I'm sure everyone out there has them. We're hearing that there's a ton out there stolen and all that. But just some things Kurt says, just I can't let go of. Apparently, Kurt asked Jim after Dylan was reported missing what he was doing on that day. And Jim's timeline doesn't align with Don's timeline. There's like a gap in between. So all that is suspicious, obviously. But apparently Kurt is saying that he asked Jim, did Dylan call you to have you unlock the gate? Or did he call you to say, I'm bringing the grain truck in, be ready for me to put it under the sea truck? And according to Kurt, Jim is saying, no, he never called him. He never knew anything about it. And Kurt said, I don't believe you. And apparently Kurt is claiming all Jim did was sip of beer after being told that he didn't believe him. So that is very telling in my mind. It seems very much, and if this is true, that Kurt is saying that Jim was in the bar and he's just sipping beer after all this is going down, it's really weird. Kurt is weird for sure. I don't think he would hurt Dylan, but that's weird. What's weird is coming from somewhere I do believe do the same with him. I know, it's like I go back and forth all the time. Yeah, he sounds so specific. Hi, Cup of Color. Thanks for being here.
She says that they've been divorced, her and Justin, for 15 years, and pretty much said that one of these two guys needs to talk.
Foul play happened to Dylan. There's no reason he was
So this was an older media clip. And for those who followed the Kylan and Crystal Schulte double homicide murder in Moab, Utah, this was the family's private investigator that they had hired, and he's been on Court TV. He's been doing a lot of commentary on that case, which they are pretty much saying is solved. But, they had him on about the Dylan Rounds case. And this was his opinion on Chase back in the early time before I think all three of those people were in prison or whatever. So to me, it always kind of stood out that this private investigator, although the mother was saying, no, we feel in our heart that Chase isn't involved, this PI was kind of like, well, I can't be so sure about that. So I just found it interesting to kind of revisit this little clip from this private investigator. And we're going to be honing in a little bit closely on Chase. So
excited to be farming there. His crop was about to come to fruition for the very first time, so he was excited.
There was a man who was bloody and asked Dylan for a ride. It was days before his disappearance, but his mother doesn't believe he had anything to do with the disappearance. The private investigator isn't convinced.
Unless they can definitively prove that individual had nothing to do with this, it's too strikingly coincidental to be meaningless.
Somebody knows, and it's more than one somebody. I think there's multiple people who know what happened to Dylan, but nobody's talking.
If you know.
Now, I just find this little footage interesting because although you can't really make out his face much, but, he's talented with the guitar. He's obviously not on meth at this point, and it's just so crazy. You see the pictures of his mugshots, and I guess in between all this craziness, back in the day, he was a normal person before meth, before everything. Um, it's just crazy to kind of look at the people involved here. So I hope you don't mind while I play this little clip. But I just wanted to read something about, oh, yeah. So we're talking about Kurt, insanely confused, said, I think he is on some type of meds and it makes him fantasize. I could see that, or just drinking. You know what I mean? He gets he's just out of his mind at times. Pink Dahlia said, same here. Is he just a drunk who theorizes a lot? I know people like that, and people who get hammered and just spin. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just very confusing. Some of the things he said, though, I just can't let go of. Like, it's just too direct, too close to things. Now this, I just also wanted to relook at again with you guys and get your guys' opinion on. I'm just a little, I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but at the same time, it kind of would make sense because remember how there was that mention of a homicide in one of the recent reports regarding to Chase, and they decided that he wasn't going to get extradited because of, they're keeping him in place pretty much. And in the affidavit, they mentioned something about a possible homicide that he could be connected to. So that was recent, sort of, if you guys remember. So this is from Box Elder County Sheriff's Office and FBI. It's a report by them both. It's a joint press release. This was on July 7th. So even further back than this extradition stuff going on with Chase. So this, I was just reading it. And again, remember, Chase, Jim Brenner, and Robert Aviles all had warrants that were unrelated to Dylan's case, right? So everyone remember that. And that, we don't have anybody being charged with anything directing them to Dylan. Not charges, at least, they're on the suspects list. But here, this first paragraph, the last part, let me get it on my phone so I can actually read it. I don't know. It makes me think, and honestly, I think that when they mentioned the murder, the homicide in the affidavit, it's not what Candice is saying, like how Candice said in her recent interview, apparently you can say whatever you want in an affidavit as long as the judge agrees to it and they can get the warrant or whatever. That, like, I see what she's saying, but at the same time, it's like, no, there has to be like truth to it. Otherwise a judge can't, on good conscience, just say like, yes. I believe that the law enforcement know more than they're even telling Candice. That's kind of my feelings. I don't know if you guys are feeling the same, but I feel like even though they don't have the body, I feel like they know more about stuff. And that's why it said that in the affidavit. I could be wrong. And it could be what Candice is saying, that they can just lie in affidavits to get whatever. I don't know. I'm thinking that they know more and the parents don't know. So let me just read this last sentence. And it could mean nothing, but it almost makes it seem like let me just read it. So, during the course of this investigation, multiple persons have been interviewed by Box Elder Sheriff's County Sheriff's Office and FBI, other assisting agencies. Multiple arrests have been made for unrelated warrants and crimes that have been discovered during this process. So they came out and we all knew that there was warrants out for these people, and Robert Avila skipped a court appearance or whatever. So that would explain why it says unrelated warrants. And then this whole part that I'm like, kind of like, well, what does this mean? And crimes that have been discovered during this process. And people have been talking about the body that was found out there and other missing people that have gone on in the area. And I'm just wondering, and again, this is speculation, is Chase being tied to something else? And that's why it said that in the affidavit, and that's why it's saying this in this report that was on July 7th. It just seems like something more, and which would make sense. I mean, Candice said herself, there's more going on behind the scenes than the public knows about and that they can share. She also said that her and Justin know more about something that was being processed. So it made me wonder, well, is that a phone that was found? Because again, there's rumor going around that Robert Aviles told law enforcement the location of the phone. That again hasn't been confirmed 100%, but it is a rumor going around. Or did they find out the process of the blood splatter on his boots? That's something else that maybe that's what she's referring to. She said things were processed, which gave them more answers. So is it the trailer, fingerprints maybe in the trailer? Maybe they did some ballistics test somewhere. I'm not sure. But apparently, I'm just looking at chat, Pink Dahlia. I don't know about the hunting aspect, but I do know that one of the people on the panels, I want to say it was a female that knew Chase. I could be wrong, but one of the local people or people from the area and living around the area said that the human trafficking theory that's been going around could be probable in her mind because there's a lot of RSOs around. So I think that is something that definitely is up on the list. Hi, Sleuth Mom. Thanks for being here. That's definitely, on the board as a possibility, sadly, especially when I'm hearing there's like 15 Mexicans that were illegals that, I mean, I'm not lumping them all to the cartel, but is it possible that these 15 Mexican men out there working who were possibly illegals lived in a bunch of these trailers? It's said that Dylan would go around and do maintenance for trailers or, jump start a trailer's battery or whatever. He was sort of like that kind of person too, like before he started his own farm. So did he rub elbows with people and that were bad? I mean, I'm not just saying the illegals. Maybe it was somebody else out there that's bad, or RSOs. Like apparently there's a ton out there. So what if they had seen this vulnerable teenager? Oh, he lives out here by himself. Wait, his parents never come out to see him? I mean, it's just word of mouth, one bad person to another, or an opportunity to get him somewhere and then off to Mexico, which is not that far away. It is fair, the question. Thank you, Pink Dahlia. It's sad, but it's kind of like if these were the type of things that he was surrounded by, you can't really not consider it. So the other thing too is Jim Brenner knew how to drive the truck. So that was something I guess only limited people may have been able to do that we have to keep in mind. But also who's out there like giving rides? I don't know. Did he even park the grain truck so that he needed the ride, or did something happen before he even needed a ride back? You know what I mean? I just don't know. But yeah, they can be ruthless for sure. Hi, Cody. Let me see what else. So I'm just wondering what this meant, revisiting that. Now, let me just read through some of my notes. Give me 1 second, guys. So Jim Brenner's truck overheats, but at the same time, I don't know how you guys are thinking, but at the same time, who cares if it overheats? Like, it could overheat and you turn it off and you wait for it to cool down again, and then you go for as many more miles it can go once it's not overheated anymore. You know what I mean? So, he was something what happened on Saturday. His family doesn't get there till Monday. That's a lot of time for somebody to kind of take care of a situation themselves under the radar, all in the midst of nobody is alerting the mother, which was something that like we kind of knew about, but at the same time, I never realized like the series of events because like I realized it, but then I really started thinking like, oh wow, like it took JD, the friend, to call the mom and be like, hey, no one's heard from Dylan. And it's like, okay, so all this stuff between grandma and Don and grandma calling other people and then finally calling JD, it's like, oh my gosh, like I would be livid if like I didn't know until everyone else was kind of running around. I don't know. I know it's like I'm not trying to judge, but I'm just thinking about wow, like she didn't even have the chance to know that no one had heard from him. I mean, I guess if she was trying to reach out to him, maybe she'd be like, why is his phone going to voicemail? And that's the other thing that we need to remember. Dylan, according to Kurt, and again, we're going to be doing a lot of hearsay with Kurt, but he said that Dylan was always on his phone. So if the pings on the phone and the activity on the phone were from very early in the morning with grandmother to, that one app location ping later in the afternoon at what, 2:41? I mean, that's a huge gap in time for there to be nothing on the phone kind of activity-wise. So for someone always on their phone, that's why I'm thinking, like, something must have instantly happened, and it makes me wonder, like, when he called his grandmother, because everyone's been wondering, why would he call his grandmother to say, "I gotta get going," and be frantic because of the seed in the rain? Did he call his grandmother and say, Jim better not give me crap. I'm about to be there with this seed truck and I need to get it under the shed. He better not give me crap about the gate because apparently there's some power struggle going on with this gate. And it's just making me wonder, like, so when he said, I don't know, like, did grandma say, like, give me a call when you can or when everything's worked out? And then obviously that's what tipped her off to thinking like something was wrong because she knew that there was going to be something, but, was hoping that it would be fine. I don't know. Sleuth Mom said the Kurt stuff is so hard because his stories have been everywhere, but that age is no to be on the phone. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter if Dylan's the type of kid who wasn't on Tinder and all this stuff, like some kids his age. He's, like everyone else, even other of all ages, they're on their phone everyone's on their phone all the time. Yeah, they never should have told Dylan's grandmother not to worry. In my opinion, that in itself was shady. I agree. And I've been thinking a lot of like, that's why I'm thinking Don worked out some deal because he didn't think about it. He didn't even turn in the guns or talk about that gun situation until way into June. Dylan goes missing end of May. Those things didn't even happen until like mid-June. So, oh, bye, Bean Wayne. Thanks for coming in. So that's where I'm kind of like, so when people talk about Dylan or Don quit, he didn't get fired by Dylan. I'm still thinking in my mind that Don has some sort of resentment against this kid. Whether he has any direct involvement, I don't know. But I do find it strange that he's a friend of the family, but held on to these guns and did this like behind the scenes stuff with Jim before, like after knowing that Dylan had been missing. You know what I mean? Like you would think that would have been an opportunity for him to be like, this may or may not be related, but Jim came to me and blah, 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 gave me these guns. But that didn't happen until he was pretty much like pushed in the corner, like in an interview. So I just find the whole Don thing very strange. It would be interesting to know how long the call between them lasted. I know. And I don't know if you noticed in the most recent Candice interview, was it in that one? See, I watched her recent one again, and then I watched her very first one. One of them, she kind of is vague about who called who, like she is in other interviews. But then in that same interview, the interviewer guy kind of gets her to say that, like, yes, he called grandmother. So I'm just wondering exactly what you are. Like, how long was that call? You know, and it just seemed so, the grandmother knew right away, like, she should be worried, it seemed. You know what I mean? Like, kids get busy. Like my grandmother, or, you know, whoever, for her not to get the call back, it just seemed like she knew there was some situation going on. So then she calls Don, who's like a bigger dude, and they trusted, but I don't know. There's something going on. I wouldn't be surprised if it is true, the rumors that Don made a deal is actually going on. So, all right. So where else should I pick up with this? Okay. Okay, we covered that. Kurt claims there's no reason for the grain truck to have been locked. Chase and Robert Aviles rob and steal stuff together, according to Kurt. Dylan worked as a handyman and welded trailers. Yep, we talked about that. Okay, so it seems like this whole I'm going to start farming out here idea came in fall 2021. I think that's when Dylan bought the stuff. And that's when he started his own farm out there. His dream was to be a farmer and get a farming contract with Anheuser-Busch, aka Budweiser. Kurt claims Dylan's trailer had a microwave, but no running water. Kurt makes a point to point out he knows where. Okay, so yeah, this is another thing that's important. So Kurt wants to make it known to everyone that whoever knew how to get to the grain shed, or, you know, only so many people, according to Kurt, know how to be out there. You know, like they know, according to Kurt, his brother Troy doesn't know how to get to the grain shed or Dylan's property. But, you know, he wants everyone to know that, like, whoever did this to Dylan must have known already how to get out there, because not a lot of people know how to get to it. And I believe even the parents had to call and kind of find their way out there. So it's just interesting because it kind of narrows things down a little bit. And if it's true that Robert Aviles and Chase were kind of going out there together prior, you know, then maybe there's some level of nefarious activity between Chase and Jim Brenner connected. And then Robert Aviles, you know, did he tell law enforcement where the phone was? So now they have Dylan's cell phone. I don't know, but it's all rumors. According to Kurt, he saw Dylan around 9 a.m. on Friday. He came into the area to help Dan Iverson fix a pivot, which apparently Dylan had a part that was essential to fixing it. This is also when Kurt claims Dylan told him he needs to get the truck under the shed to protect the seed from the rain. And Kurt says to him, make sure you call me if you need a ride. And this also was when Kurt's daughter witnessed this whole thing go down as well. So if Dylan was planning all night Friday, he would have obviously been super exhausted because he would have been working, you know, late into the night. Then he calls his grandmother already at like 6 something in the morning. You know, he's exhausted, I'm sure. So he wouldn't, in my opinion, be walking 5 miles. That is just too much, and especially in the rain and all that. Like, I'm just not really believing that Dylan would have walked back by himself. So that means, in my mind, of like the timeline of events, something happened before Dylan even got to the at the chance to walk back to his property. So right when he gets off the phone with grandmother there on his property, I don't know. Did somebody swing through and follow him to the grain shed? Don't know. Who gave Dylan the ride, or who followed Dylan from wherever to the grain shed? I don't even know if if Dylan didn't park that underneath the shed because it got caught in the mud while the heavy late afternoon rain was taking place, then somebody else could have parked it under there, meaning he never even made it there. Oh, yeah, no, I'll be working on getting the membership link hopefully this week. I'm reapplying. So fingers crossed that YouTube lets that go through. So check back in like a few days. I'm reapplying on the 30th, and then they can hopefully give me the membership option for you guys. And thanks again for everyone here and watching. Well, thank you, Cup of Color. I collect all the flyers and pictures of all the missing persons and children's cases and share. So I'm hope you don't mind me putting it on here. It's such a good graphic. So Kurt claimed the seeds were poorly planted. People have speculated, was this because it was done at night, or was someone else planting the seed like Jim? Now, I would like to think that it was Dylan planning through the night, but who knows? Everything is out there and should be kind of thought about and kind of played around with in our minds of the possibilities. So it's just the third person who was searching is still a question to me. Oh, good, Cup of Color. I'll be looking forward to seeing it. Hi, Grandma Sherry. The third person that they've mentioned that was out there searching, I still have no clarification on. Does anybody else have clarification on? Did Dylan see something suspect that made him hop off phone with Grandma right away and then ran right into the situation? I know. I just really wonder, like, I just don't know. Like, and the other thing too that I was thinking, guys, is so now it's come out that maybe the mother's not as close to Dylan as we thought at first. But then I'm thinking, okay, so if that's the case, think about this. Wednesday comes around, Dylan gets the check on Tuesday. Wednesday comes around and he sees Chase run out of the desert and he's got blood and all this stuff. One shoe on, disheveled, just out of his mind, apparently, talking about seeing his daughters out there. Like he could have been in some meth psychosis. Who knows? So Dylan, I feel like that really must have shook Dylan enough, because Candice says in one of her first interviews, he called me at work and he says, Mom, you're not going to believe this. This guy ran out of the desert, blah, blah, blah. So my thing is, like, it must have shook him enough to decide to call the one parent that, like, he's not really that close to, like he could have called his grandfather. He could have called the grandmother. He could have called Justin. He could have called one of his siblings. It just stands out in my mind that not only does he call his mother, but he calls her at work. It's just, I really want to know, like, the whole conversation. I know that she's told us what they talked about, but I'm really wondering if it was like, I just want to know. I'm just so curious, because I think that put Dylan on extra high alert. It just makes me wonder if he had some suspicion that this was not a good situation and he wanted other people to kind of know what was going on out there, and he's out there by himself. Like, I don't know, just calling your mom to me is almost like a cry for help in a way, but who knows? Let me look through here. So the thing is too, why, if Jim Brenner did this, and why would he put the boots there so close to his trailer? It's just kind of like idiotic. And people have been like, well, he's not that smart. Like his boss, who was on No Thanks, was saying that he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. But at the same time, like, that same boss was talking about how he was stealing his truck and doing this and that when he didn't even know about it. So obviously Jim's got enough smarts to be, a little bit sneaky and under the radar in some aspects. So the boots being there just really don't make sense to me still. And apparently now people are going to Jim Brenner's old property that his trailer was on that blew up, the one that JLR was kind of pointing at and saying, like, this is 10 acres, it's here, this or that. This is Jim's property. Has this been searched? That was like weeks ago. And now that Earthworm Entertainment YouTube channel is out there looking at it, and they found shovels. I think I showed like a picture of the shovels that were found. And I don't know if things have been collected or looked at, like as far as by federal agents or whatever, but it just makes me wonder, who could possibly be making it set up as Jim being the one and only person responsible for this. If anything is found on Jim's property that's suspicious, it would make you wonder, like, okay, so Jim did this and then he brought all this evidence to his own property. Like, they haven't come out and said that anything has been like salvaged or taken in by agents, but it's just really weird. And I'm anxious to see, why all this is happening the way it is, like with the boots being there. It just seems very much like Jim's being like framed, not framed because I'm sure he's, responsible for a portion of this, but there's just more to all this. Yes, the boots to me seem like a setup of some sort. I agree. And I don't know. I'm starting to think those boots were just a mistake or forgotten about. It seems planned, but maybe plan went off course during, and here we are. Yeah, it's possible. It's definitely possible. And remember, Kurt and his daughter both claiming that they know for a fact that Dylan power washed his truck himself. That all to me seems strange too. I mean, could it be true? Yes, it definitely could be true. But I just don't know. All right, let me look through and see what else I have to talk to you guys about. So apparently Dylan didn't know Robert Aviles. In my understanding, it seems like not very many people knew Robert Aviles. He's very much kind of new to the area because he just got released out of prison that he was doing a very long sentence for I forgot what it was. But yeah, he just kind of is like new to the area in a way, like not too many people knew him. So Dylan didn't know him. So that's where people were like, okay, so what if Dylan was walking back and Robert Aviles pulled over and was like, hey, kid, I could give you a ride if you want. And then like gets stuck in some situation where he's held at gunpoint, like Chase comes out of the back seat or whatever. Like maybe then we would have to assume that Dylan was the one that brought the grain truck in, and this happened on his walk back. He got ambushed. I mean, it's possible, I guess. It really is. Then where does Jim play in and all that? I don't know. So Jim told Kurt he was barbecuing with Don from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Don told Kurt, no, it was 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. So obviously there's a gap. Something obviously nefarious took place during that time. He's trying to say that he was there 2 hours earlier than he was. If something happened in the early morning, Jim would need the extra time. But then you also have to look at it too, that, Don isn't saying that he didn't see him that day. So he clearly saw Jim that day on Saturday. And Jim's over here barbecuing and drinking and all that with Don, like nothing ever took place. So just think about that. Is he as cold? Apparently his boss that was on that I was talking about on Doug's channel was saying how he's cold behind the eyes, like that dead behind the eyes type of look. That's how he described Jim. So this jockey feller, this person who everyone's kind of been talking about is apparently that one female that knew Chase, like knew of this jockey guy. I don't know. I might be getting these callers mixed up, but there was somebody who did confirm, yes, there is a jockey. He's small. He's frail looking. He looks poor. He's dirty. He hangs out with the tweakers. So could this jockey person be somebody who would hang out with Chase? According to this one local, the jockey hangs out with the tweakers. So, don't know. So when Candice talks about how there was no tracks around the trailer and around Dylan's truck, it's made people question, did Don even go to the trailer and to the truck to look? You know what I mean? Like, did he ever even go there? Or was he informed of something that took place and then ended up lying to the grandmother saying, don't worry, it's nothing to worry about, and then didn't even bother looking at the trailer and stuff because he went directly to the grain shed, found something out, and then is trying to cover, but has worked out a deal with law enforcement. So that's why, I don't know. I'm just trying to theorize where all that plays in. Oh, thank you so much, Brooks, for the PayPal. And thank you. I don't want to say everyone's full name, but thank you, Tanya, so much for that. I really appreciate it, guys. Hopefully I get the monetization reapproved. It's been a long process and it's just very frustrating, but I'm really appreciative of everyone who's been supporting me, even by liking and just subscribing shows me support to this channel. But I really appreciate those who have sent me PayPal, because it's just really appreciated, more than you guys even know and more than I can even say. So thank you again so much. So back to my chicken scratch notes. I don't know, guys. I just have more questions than answers. Pretty much, I think I've gone over everything that I can kind of go over. Let me see if there was anything. Salty is in the area. He's obviously still in deep defense of Kurt. Doesn't think Kurt's involved from what I'm gathering. He is thinking along the same lines as Kurt and saying that people are trying to point fingers in their direction when they should be looking in the opposite direction. I don't know. Let me just play the recent interview with Candice, because I think that I wanted to show just a few minute marks and just kind of look at it with you. It's not going to be the whole one because or the whole interview, because I know you guys have seen it a lot already, and me not being able to talk to you guys got me a little behind because I went away this weekend. So let me just share my screen 1 second. Sleuth Mom said, I just feel like Don probably doesn't know because he was so quick to turn Jim in for the guns that I think he would have cashed in on the reward if he knew. True, but didn't he not talk about the guns till like mid-June? Like the guns didn't get turned in my understanding, till like June 20th or something. I could be off on the timeline. So just let me know. And if anyone's watching on replay and knows the answer to that, just let me know also. Just feel like it took longer than it should have for Don to kind of turn in the gun information. But again, I don't know the exact dates.
As a felon, you're not allowed to own weapons.
Okay, hold on. So I have some minute marks. And oh my gosh, I'm sorry, but there's so much that Candice says that you miss because she speaks so fast that when I went back and watched her first East Idaho News interview, I was like, wait, what? It sounded so different now, knowing everything that we know now, to watch her first East Idaho News interview. I was just like, wow, I don't know. Very interesting. So the minute mark is 4. No. Okay.
Affidavit that was served to get the warrant on Chase, they listed a homicide investigation. That was in the affidavit, and that's thrown up a lot of questions with people. So, I did clarify that with law enforcement. So Chase was set to be extradited to Montana, and they didn't want that happening. So not wanting that happening tells me something right there. We honestly haven't been told, but that's when they went in.
So she just said, we honestly haven't been told, after just opening the sentence with, okay, so I clarified that with law enforcement and they told us that. And then now she's saying, but we honestly haven't been told. So I just don't want to take everything she's saying as fact. Like, I believe that affidavit said homicide for a reason. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, and Candice could be totally right that they can say whatever they want just so he didn't get extradited. But I'm just wondering if maybe they're holding back on telling all the details to the mother or to anyone. They have to protect the investigation.
And got the search warrant. So in that affidavit, they put in, how'd they word that, conjunction with a homicide investigation. Come to find out, you can put anything you want in an affidavit for a warrant. None of it has to be true, but it's what you can put in it and kind of prove to get a judge to sign it faster. And that's what held Chase here.
Okay, so I guess we could summarize it by saying the police obviously believe that these guys might know something.
Correct.
Or that they're tied into it. But again, they have not to this point been charged. There's been some questions online that we can address with you. The first one being, why did Dylan go to this remote area, not in the state where he was living here in Idaho?
Okay, so we've kind of already covered that before, so I just want to skip to another minute mark.
Thing that that a lot of people have asked is that he was involved in some romantic relationship with one or more of the men out there.
Yeah, and when this all started, any crazy idea, we were in such a frantic and we didn't have the help we needed. We're not professionals at this. We didn't know what to do. We listened to everything, and that information came from a very unreliable source. There is no ground to it whatsoever. There is not a single person who actually knows Dylan that you can say that to that doesn't laugh. It's all that rumor mill started going, and when you're a parent and you're not getting help, you go to anybody, the YouTubers, all of this stuff that we did that's got this fire started. We didn't know any better. You know, we were just trying to get it out there to get help. And so then it's just turned into a circus. And if people want to follow the circus, they can follow it. But that doesn't help us find Dylan. And none of it's true. You know, rumors and speculation is ridiculous when we have evidence and facts. So that's what us as a family are sticking to, and just staying out of the big circus all these other people have created that don't know any of us.
There were some questions too a few weeks ago. Maybe it was around the flu, and Box Elder Sheriff's Office, and I believe Elko too, had said, please don't go out there and search.
Correct.
Some people were saying, well, if it was my kid, I'd be out there searching nonstop. Why don't they want help with the search?
Right.
Can you address that?
So what people got to realize is the FBI and Box Elder have been out there, and they have been gathering stuff from the soil, from that immediate. They have been all over it. They've had more heavy equipment out there. They've had more dogs out there. They have been all over it. You take somebody who's untrained and just think they're going to go out there and be the hero. They're stepping over the stuff that the FBI and Box Elder County are now gathering, and Elko and all these law enforcement agents that are now involved. Us going out there, civilians, we just ruined stuff. I mean, the whole crime scene, the whole scene, we call the crime.
So I do wonder if her slipping up here saying crime scene means, they know more about stuff that they're keeping under wraps, and maybe she knows more, but it's just kind of like I don't know, maybe it was just a slip of the tongue. Don't know.
Crime scene that was so tainted from the beginning because of how it was handled. Everything that's there needs to be preserved. And I am sorry, you're not going to go out and go walking through that desert and just stumble across my son, because we have been everywhere. Horses, dogs, air, ATVs, search and rescue. I mean, I think we had 6 choppers out there, multiple planes. I mean, we have covered it. Now that we've gathered evidence, it's kind of taken a different direction. And we need to let it go that direction and not destroy what's left.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense. It makes complete sense. All right, 12-minute mark. And then I just remembered I have some audio clips on my phone that I don't remember what they were, but I saved them for this live stream. So I'll play them after this little part.
The public may not know. What has the feeling been like?
No one flavors like we flavor. Grillmates.
In your mind?
Honestly, to have Box Elder switch it and say those words has been a relief, because what needs to be done is getting done. We pretty much all knew from the first day we went out there. And I know people think that's horrible to say, and nobody wanted to believe it, especially us. Justin and I, we didn't want to believe it, but we both know our son. And we know nothing would take him away from his farm. Absolutely nothing. Not even for a day. He had to get the rest of that seed in the ground. Nothing would have taken him away from there. So it was just one of those gut feelings where you don't want it to be true. It's your parents' worst nightmare. But when you have a kid.
Okay, Cup of Color says, alert, Chase is no longer a person of interest. Okay, where is this coming from? The official Facebook page? That Gloria Delia girl just posted. Who? Sorry, it took me a minute to see your comment. Let me look up the, who's Gloria? Sorry, I'm looking up her name. Okay, no problem. Let me know where you're hearing that. Let me check the Facebook group too while we're right here. Go on my Facebook page. I just posted it. Okay. Which one is the one that you run? I know that I'm in like a few. Is it an official news source or like court paperwork stating this, or is it just a YouTuber? Let me play this still.
Kid like Dylan and his patterns and his drive and his passion has been there, you know, since he was a little kid, and that's his baby. We knew he wouldn't leave. There's no way. Not just not leave, but leave without his pickup.
Let me check.
You know, leave without his boots. You know, all the stuff was right in front of us from day one. It was all right there.
So what happens now?
We wait. There's a lot of stuff being processed. So hopefully that'll give us a few more answers. There's been some stuff that has been processed that's given us some answers. And we hope one of these two guys talks.
And we know that so far Dylan has not been found.
Correct.
But again, his birthday is August 1st, so they're packets of seeds. Yep. And you're asking people that are interested to plant them in his honor.
Yeah. And like I said, there'll be Scotty's and Rigby. They'll have a couple thousand of them, and they'll kind of be everywhere. And people can go to the Facebook page and request them. And, you know, you don't have to get the ones from us. Just, we've got trees dedicated to them. I mean, we've got people they love the kid.
How have you all been holding up? I mean, it's been 2 months. There's a lot of nasty commenters, people saying stuff online. Yeah. How has your family been?
We're okay. We're the comments, the focus that has come on to, especially me.
It's hard to watch.
That was driven by me.
Yeah.
I'm the one who caused the fire.
That's hard to watch because I know that like she clearly is stressing and all that. But yeah, if that did take place in court today, Cup of Color, then I'm sure somebody will be showing the court documents or something. And then as soon as that comes out, I will post it on my community page or news report, whatever it is. We will definitely post that. So that's interesting if that's true, that he's being not named as a person of interest anymore. That'd be very interesting. Okay, so let me just play some audios. This is... Oh, hold on. Let me check what these are before I play it. Okay, yeah. So this is Kurt saying that he never would have dreamed that that Jim would clip Dylan over a gate.
Yeah, next question. Kurt, fence?
Yes, they did. That's for sure, you know, but I never...
Do you think Jim would hurt Dylan? Did they have an issue with the fence?
Yes, they did. That's for sure, you know, but I never would dream that Jim could actually clip Dylan over the fence or even parking his truck in that shed down, right? You know, but, you know, in a way, I guess I didn't know Jim that well. But I didn't know his past. I didn't. He lived with me for a year on my property. And I bought him a horse. He wanted a horse because he said, I don't want vehicles, I want a horse. So I bought him a horse. He paid me for it. And so he paid it out, $1,000 horse, and took it out.
Yeah, that is interesting, Cup of Color, if that's true. So she said the assistant district attorney said, to their knowledge, Chase is no longer a person of interest, but I never thought he was named an official person of interest. He was in, like, there was only a few news stations that said it. But it was, I don't know, it was very like below the radar, like naming him. But yeah, there was, I think I showed in one of my live streams that, yeah, Chase was named a person of interest. Him and Jim.
And I was wondering why he left. One day Dawn came and picked his ass up, the horse in the horse trailer. They went away. He just, one day, all all of a sudden he's going away off my property. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Because it was kind of a watchdog for me at the point. And all of a sudden they're going out the gate. I'm like, what the hell? But I figured it out because he had beat up Billy. I don't know Billy's last name, but he beat up this young kid, like the kid's probably about 35, over a wood burning stove Jim thought he should have this stove, and he got another piece of shit, and he was pissed about it. So he beat Billy up in the store one day. He caught him in the store, and he beat his ass. Well, he didn't beat his ass. Jim broke his ankle. Mm-hmm. And Don had to pick him up and take him right to Elko.
So that's that. And then this other one. So that was Kurt pretty much saying that Jim got into a physical altercation with a younger kid and ended up breaking his ankle. Just reiterating that Jim is a violent person, which we kind of already knew. So if it's true that Chase is no longer on like their radar, that is super interesting and crazy either way. I agree. I don't know. It's just, I'm wondering if it is, what did somebody say earlier, that he might have cut a plea deal? Could be. Time will tell. Brenner doesn't have a vehicle. I don't think they use Dylan's truck. My heart tells me it's Brenner and Robert. It really could be. And think about it. Like, for so many weeks, hasn't Ty been saying Robert has been cleared? Robert Aviles isn't involved. His mother told me that the feds told her that they're not looking into her son anymore, which, they could have been doing as just a means to keep the preservation of the investigation. So maybe it was, I'm not saying anyone was lying. I'm just saying law enforcement are able to lie if they have to. So when Candice says, hopefully one of these two people talk, so this whole time I've been looking into Chase as being the other person that she's talking about, and it could be Robert. It very well could be. We've seen his criminal history, so could his patterns be continuing? We'll see. So they're going to nail all of this on just Jim? Very interesting. Yeah, I'm wondering, but if he's like not in the best shape and he's like a little dude, and he's got a bad ankle or whatever from injuries, he did all this himself. So this comes from Doug's channel, No Things Investigates. I don't know what this is. Let me listen first. Okay, so this is Lance talking about how they'd gone to Jim Brenner's old property, and they just looked around the old property where it was exploded. And so he's just reiterating what he knows about that. So
we're saying, oh, you guys are trampling on an active investigation, and you guys are interfering with this. A lot of people were saying that. So I want to tell those people that the FBI said we could be out searching, and they're okay with us out searching. They've never said that they don't want people looking for missing people. They've never said that. They don't know. So whoever's getting this information that we can't be out searching or we shouldn't be out there, we weren't anywhere near Lucin or anywhere near Dylan's farm.
The one spot they want us to stay out of is just Lucin.
This is on,
right.
Yeah, in Nevada.
Why is that? Why is that, you think?
Oh,
that's where the majority of the crime took place.
Right.
Dylan's nowhere out there.
I know. Right.
So I'm thinking that it's still what EquiSearch Dave Rader was saying on Duty Ron, that they believe that he's within 200 miles of his farm. I think that that kind of clears up any sort of why are they out there searching? They've told them not to. I mean, he's spoken to the agents. They said, you can be there. That's fine. Just don't be here. So hopefully that clears up any of the rumors around that aspect of things. I find it interesting, even if Jim Brenner's property has absolutely nothing on it, I just find it interesting to see that stuff. So, you know, it's just, it's part of the case. What do you guys think? So this obviously is for Dylan's birthday. That is August 1st. They're paying tribute by planting seeds. All the information is on Dylan's official Facebook group, Find Dylan Rounds. So that's everything that I have to kind of talk to you guys about. Defense has come up a few times about their dispute. They said Dylan called the landowner the night before, I think, indicating there may have been an issue. Yeah, so I'm wondering if when Kurt clarified that that call was on Friday, if that is the voicemail that they're saying he can't get to, whoever owns the phone. I think they said Ed Harshberger. I don't know. I could be wrong. There's so many people that are John Shelton. It's one of them. But just a lot of stuff. You know, is it just Jim and he just blew up? Robert did squat on the same property as Jim. Is on at one point. I wonder when Robert was staying there versus Jim staying there. Right. I think Robert got out of prison 2021. I could be wrong, but it was very recent. Maybe 2020. Could be wrong. I'm glad you were here, Michelle, and for everyone being here. It's very crazy the speed of information that is coming out in this case, even though it's kind of trickling out as far as coming from the media. I mean, I haven't seen, besides East Idaho News, who is covering this anymore besides YouTube. Hi, Yenny, which I don't understand why, and I don't want to be judgmental, but I just don't understand why the YouTube realm is being lumped into this whole group of people that are just spreading fake news and speculation. Like, that's not what every channel does. That's also what's needed in a way when it's kind of a mystery and it's like a whodunit type of thing. Like, yes, there's going to be a lot of speculation, but at the same time, I do think that channels have been very fair. They've kept Dylan's name and face out there. That's what I aim to do. I know that there's a lot of channels that really just want to find out the answers. And I see a lot of good intentions with this case. I can't say the same about other cases. Like, there definitely is other cases where people just, you know, run with whatever and scam for things and billboards and all that. Like, we've all seen it. If you guys have been around the YouTube streets or the true crime community, like, there's other things that have happened in other cases that were way worse. And I just feel like, I hope that the family knows that there are channels that will keep Dylan's face and name out there and are here to kind of help if they need it. So hopefully they know that. But either way, hopefully we get more answers and we get some positive news in this. Yeah, I agree, Cup of Color. This would have gone cold a long time ago without YouTube. And, you know, that is what's interesting too, is some of the mainstream medias were playing clips from YouTube. Like, they were using information and sourcing YouTube channels in their mainstream clips. And it was obviously getting the mainstream clips views and clicks too. So it's just like, we are being respected on some sort by the mainstream media, but then there's aspects where it's like, I just wish we weren't lumped into like the same category as like people who cause like chaos. But I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people have done really good coverage on this. So we will definitely be talking soon. Remember, Doug popped in earlier and he was saying that he will be going live on his channel, and he's going to have Chase's ex-girlfriend on there. So that's going to be interesting. I think that's in a few hours. It's going to be 10 o'clock Eastern time. So I'll be tuning in for sure. And hopefully I will see you guys in there, or we can just talk here or whatever, guys. We'll talk very soon. And yeah, hopefully everything goes well as far as the remonetization. So guys, just keep your fingers crossed for me. And I just really appreciate everybody who came here tonight to watch and hang out, and for those watching on replay. And we will talk very soon, guys. So goodbye.